Welcome to the WWE Podcast flagship show, The Week in Review, where we talk about all the big events that happened during this past week. So we're going to talk about everything from Randy Orton hitting yet another RKO on Bobby Lashley to Brock Lesnar's massive return to SmackDown, Edge and Rollins blowing the roof off of Madison Square Garden, Becky Lynch continues down her heel path, and much, much more right after this. So if you're looking for another awesome podcast to listen to, go check out the Dion Gordon podcast. Dion offers his unique insight and analysis on a plethora of subjects: sports, news, politics, entertainment, pop culture, and whatever else is on his mind. It's straight to the point, no BS. He calls it like he sees it. It's the Dion way. Go check him out anywhere you find your podcast, whether that's Apple or Anchor or Spotify. Again, it's the Dion Gordon podcast. Highly recommend. He even covered the AEW All Out pay-per-view for an hour and a half. Did such an excellent job and open talking about the difference of AEW's professional wrestling versus WWE's sports entertainment. It's just such a great listen, guys. Go check out the Dion Gordon podcast right now. Fitzgerald Gold and Silver's Facebook group is the place to be if you're interested in buying or selling gold and silver. This community connects real buyers, sellers, and hobbyists who want a greater understanding of this awesome market. Join Fitzgerald Gold and Silver's Facebook group today. Accessing their gold and silver trading community is as simple as 123 SmackDown. Just type in Fitzgerald Gold and Silver and they will pop right up.
This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
Becky Lynch is going to WrestleMania. Claymore!
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my idol. You're going to acknowledge me.
Hey everybody, welcome to the WWE Podcast for, as I said at the beginning, the biggest show of the week, The Week in Review. Really excited to be back here tonight to talk about that with you. And before we get going, I want to give a shout out right off the bat to our latest patron over there at patreon.com, and that's Andrew Jewell. So I hope that's pronounced correctly. Andrew, either Jewel or Jewel. So I'm going to take a stab at one of them. I'm probably wrong, but Andrew, I know I got that right. Thank you so much for supporting the show, and you can help support the show as well and go ad-free for $1 a month, among a bunch of other stuff that is available to you, and also on Apple Podcasts. If you don't want to go through Patreon, Apple Podcasts is a great way, and it's right on that main page. Click the ad-free button and you're in. So thank you, everybody, again, for supporting the show and continuing to have this show grow. It is growing really from absolutely nothing. I mean, the show did not exist just a few years ago. I've been podcasting for about 7 years, almost 8 years total, but I was under a different name that we won't discuss. And the WWE Podcast, I believe, started in 2018. So this certainly has been a fun ride, and it is just the damn beginning. Now, I can't continue the show without recognition of today's date, right? And this is all about wrestling. This is about taking you out of reality. I get that, and it is, and we're going to have a lot of fun tonight. But this is September 11th, as you well know. But of course, depending on when you're listening to this, it's all relative, right? But as I record this, it is September 11th. And as we all know, what happened today, 20 freaking years ago. It's just crazy that it's been 20 years, that it's the day that the world stood still and 3,000 people lost their lives. And we all remember where we were, right? We've all got our story that we like to share about where we were at that moment, because everybody has personalized it at this point. Now, if you knew somebody that died, or, you know, that makes things much worse. But even from an outsider perspective, obviously it is horrific. And my quick story, because, you know, I feel compelled to tell you, because I'm sure all of you are just on the edge of your seats wondering. Very quickly, I was a sophomore in high school, 15 years old, and this happened obviously at 9 or so in the morning, and we were in it's something called homeroom. Basically, you get kind of free time, and we were watching TV, and we're like, what the hell, what are they doing, right? And then Yeah, I thought it was kind of a joke, or they didn't know if it was a real intentional hit on the World Trade Center. Maybe it was an accidental aircraft that hit the building. And being 15 years old at the time, your brain is not fully developed in any sense of the word. So my friends and I are joking about it. Yeah, we were joking about it at first because who the hell thought it was going to be a massive terrorist attack, right? Nobody. So obviously, as the day unfolded, it became much and much more serious. And obviously, we know the outcome and how it has completely changed all of our lives. So, but again, I was 15, not only watching that, but also still a massive WWE fan. I'm transitioning back to fun and not so down. But I will say this, certainly a day that we will always remember, never forget, right? As they say. Okay, let's get into wrestling and start talking about what went down on SmackDown. Now, you listen to Michael Ritter's review, covered things very nicely in his 30-minute review, and I'm not stomping on his feet or stepping on his toes, as they say. I'm just adding to his analysis with my perspective. As you know, he does a great job. One other thing, too, if you want to support our show, our hosts here that have their own podcast, go check out Zach Smith's Random Wrestling. He covers NXT. Go check out Zach Smith. He has a Random Wrestling podcast that he does shows that are not just on here. So subscribe to Random Wrestling. You won't be upset that you did. I can tell you that right now. Okay, so SmackDown, my friends. SmackDown. The clear flagship show for WWE right now. It's not even close. When is the last time SmackDown was in at Madison Square Garden live? They always, if they do a live show, it's either a pay-per-view or Monday Night Raw. This, to me, is their acknowledgement, no pun intended, that they know that SmackDown is a much better show and better product to put in Madison Square Garden, one of the hardest places to get over. As Stone Cold had said, and many legends have said, if you can get over in the Garden, you can get over anywhere because it's a tough crowd. So they made it feel big. It felt like a mini pay-per-view. Nothing earth-shattering happened, but certainly big news coming out of that show. You could, if you took this card or this event and made it like its own B pay-per-view, I would have believed you. The way that it was set up was a pay-per-view style in some ways, especially Rollins and Edge. We'll get to that in a few moments as well. But Brock Lesnar coming out, doing his thing, and having Paul Heyman and Roman Reigns in the ring. Paul Heyman tried to play both sides. I'm a bit confused as to why everything's broken down, or why Brock's angry with Paul. What was Paul supposed to do for the last 18 months? You're right. I mean, he's sitting on his ass at home, not getting a paycheck. Like, why wouldn't Paul want to just move on to the next person if Brock decides not to continue in WWE? But Paul tries to play both sides, and Brock Lesnar intimidates him and says, I want the Universal title. If Vince McMahon was there, I'm sure he was backstage saying, damn it, guys, it's championship. Don't say title. Apparently that's one of the banned words. But he was about to F5 Heyman because he didn't get the answer he wanted in the 5 seconds that he gave Heyman. And Roman Reigns delivers a Superman punch. Why they're still calling it a Superman punch when you were a heel makes no sense. But we got the Usos also attacking Brock Lesnar. The Usos get flattened, get suplexed. Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman escape the clutches of Brock Lesnar. It was later on revealed that, as we get to the end of the show, of course, that Roman Reigns did accept, as if there was any doubt, but he accepted after he gets through smashing Finn Balor. And that tells you they're going to Crown Jewel, folks. Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns are going to be at Crown Jewel in Saudi Arabia. So take that for what it's worth. I don't see any other way it happens. They're not going to put it on the SmackDown. As awful as they have been, WWE itself as a company on all brands of making championship matches on free TV, this is just one they simply can't. They simply cannot put it on free TV. It is a pay-per-view main event. And if the main event of Extreme Rules has already been determined, then it looks like Crown Jewel is next. So Roman Reigns has his next two opponents set up for the next couple of months. And then it looks like, guys, think about this. Okay, we get, now that I'm kind of playing this out in my mind, this makes a lot of sense. We get Finn Balor at Extreme Rules, the Demon Finn Balor. We'll get to the Demon in a minute too. We get the Demon Finn Balor versus Roman. Roman beats him Hooker Crook. He moves to Saudi Arabia and challenges Brock Lesnar. Now, it's kind of interesting that they also decided to say who Roman Reigns' next opponent is, as if it's assumed he's going to retain the Universal Championship, which is what they kind of did, tipping their hand doing that. They kind of got ahead of themselves, which tells you Finn has zero chance. I mean, absolutely zero chance of winning that Universal Championship now, because Brock's whole thing is he wants the Universal Championship. That's why he challenged Roman Reigns. It's not some grudge match. He wants the Universal Championship. There's no personal anything there as far as I know. So why would they make that match ahead of time if in the interim he was going to lose his championship? It doesn't make sense. So to me, they tipped their hand, and it'll be a fun match, but I think they've really just completely shown their cards here. And I know the Demon on the main roster is undefeated, but at this point, everything is at the sacrificial altar of Roman Reigns. There is nothing too sacred that WWE will not defile, for lack of a better word, for Roman Reigns at this point. And you know what? Rightfully so. And if the Demon gets beat outright, flat and clean, that's even more telling of where they feel Roman Reigns is right now. And I wouldn't blame them. I really wouldn't blame WWE for doing a clean job for Roman for Finn Balor to Roman. I really wouldn't. I know the Demon is special. It doesn't come out often. The main roster, he's undefeated. I believe he lost on NXT, but so I'm fine with it. I know some people are going to be angry about it, but it gets us to Brock and Roman at Crown Jewel, presumably. And then guys, after that, because that event takes place in October. What's in November? Survivor Series. So Roman, I don't know what Survivor Series' format's going to be at this point. I'm not sure. But after Crown Jewel, or maybe just before, there will be a roster shakeup, right? So you would like to have the roster shakeup just after the pay-per-view. And then that would kind of filter Roman's opponents for the next few months and shake things up. But in November, The Rock is scheduled to come back, heavily rumored to come back in November to set up a program with him and Roman through WrestleMania. So, or to WrestleMania, not through. So they're not going to battle for 5 months. But it'll set the seed, set the stage. The foundation will be laid at Survivor Series, presumably in what we've heard. So that'll be a nice kind of path here forward. And legend after legend apparently is going to come back out and try to defeat Roman Reigns, as we had John Cena do it. We had Edge do it. And Brock Lesnar now is trying to do it after Roman presumably even beats Brock. We have The Rock laying in wait. I don't know how much bigger it can get than that. I don't. And I actually don't want Roman Reigns to drop the belt to any of those guys. I don't. I want it to be somebody that they can build with, not somebody that's a part-timer. To me, it needs to be something special when he drops it. Not for a flash in the pan, one-off, oh, cool, Brock Lesnar's champion again. Great. Remember the last time he was champion, guys? The absentee champion? Yeah, I do. I'm a big fan of Brock Lesnar, but that was one of the things that even as a babyface at one point was just ridiculous that he was showing up like once a month or whatever. And, you know, I'm not faulting Brock for it. He gets paid handsomely to do minimal work, and congrats to him. He's at that point in his life and has done all the work to get there. But as a viewer, it kind of craps on the championship, and it's frustrating when the champion's not there regularly. So my point is, I want him to drop the belt whenever he does to somebody that they can build on. So we'll see what they do, but I do see, it's a little fuzzy, but I'm seeing the path for Roman Reigns here. I still don't know who you drop the belt to, though. I still don't have that answer. People have asked me that. I don't know. I do not know. So, you know, we'll have to see what happens here, but I really did enjoy the Brock Lesnar interaction. It was fun to see Brock on TV again, flattening the Usos. The crowd was ready for Suplex City. They were chanting it. And notice, too, people did cheer for Roman Reigns at the beginning of that show. That was a bit concerning if you're a Roman Reigns heel lover. And it wasn't the families, the young kids, and the women cheering for him as it was for the first 6 years of his babyface run. And I say babyface run in very big air quotes. It was the males, the guys that booed him are now, at least in Madison Square Garden, you got to take that with a grain of salt, and we'll see if that continues to trend that way. Madison Square Garden is a different animal. But the men, my age group, that booed the hell out of him for 6 years were cheering for Roman, chanting his name at the beginning of the show. Now, it's also because, hey, at the beginning of the show, people are excited. They have the most energy. The maximum amount of energy from an audience is available right at the beginning. And people are starting, my age group apparently is starting to appreciate or has appreciated all the work Roman's put in. We love this character. We love this new badass character, and it fits, and it's relatable, and it's real. That's what I think is the reason for it. But we'll have to see. Just something to keep an eye on. Something to keep an eye on for sure. The one thing about Brock Lesnar I'll say is I'm not a fan of the ponytail. I've come to that conclusion. I do not like it. I don't mind his attire, like the right off the farm look. I do not like the ponytail. He's way too old for it. I don't care about the beard's cool. I like the beard, but shave the head, bro, or go back to your military cut. I don't like the ponytail. It's distracting. It's too cute for Brock Lesnar. I know that he'll just do whatever the hell he wants. I think it's ugly and distracting, honestly. And I know I have many co-hosts on here who actually say they love it. It's not my taste. It's not my taste. Maybe because I'm jealous you can actually grow a ponytail, right? Like, I mean, I've had a bald head for quite a while. At 36, my hair genetics are not that great, but I don't know what it is. I don't like it. I would pay somebody a handsome reward. Maybe I'll put a bounty on Brock Lesnar's head, figuratively and literally, for somebody to just sneak into his house without getting killed, or even step onto his property without getting killed, and go into his room when he's sleeping at night with a razor and just do it real quick. Just get some hair clippers and just real quick. So I'm putting a bounty out there, and we'll see if it pays off. It's out there, guys. Do it. You can do it. Just find his place in Saskatchewan or Minneapolis or wherever the hell he is, right? Or somebody jump the barricade at a live event. Maybe that's your best bet, right? It's probably your best bet is to jump from behind with the clippers, and once it's done, it's done. He can't grow it back, right? At least for several months. Okay. Anyway, back to reality. I did enjoy Brock there. Crowd was ready for it. And it was revealed that Paul Heyman did know that Brock was going to be at SummerSlam. And Roman said, "Why didn't you tell me?" It's an easy answer. I don't know why Paul Heyman hasn't come up with this answer. It could have been like, well, I knew he was going to be there, but he didn't tell me he was going to confront you. You know, it's not like he even interfered or screwed him over in a match. He just confronted him, stared him down. So Paul could have said, well, I didn't think it was important or relevant for you to know because he didn't tell me what he was going to do. He just said, hey, I'll be at SummerSlam. You know, it's a simple answer. But Paul Heyman was kind of doe-eyed, deer in the headlights with Roman Reigns. And the story of where does Paul Heyman's loyalty lie continues. And we have Brock as a babyface, which I like, but Brock as a heel is also really good too. So and Brock on promos it's a little bit questionable. So for him, they got to keep it short and sweet. Okay, moving on here, as I really have sucked up 15, 20 minutes just talking about that one segment. But Becky Lynch, here's where I want to talk a little bit more about Becky Lynch. You know, when she first returned at SummerSlam, she did what she did to Bianca. People were like, is this a heel turn? And we've got our questions answered at this point. I think we have come far enough from SummerSlam and moved down the road far enough to make a determination. And the answer is yes. This is an attempted heel turn by Becky and WWE. And I'm sure that Becky and WWE have learned from their mistakes of trying to turn Becky heel the last time that did not work and did the opposite. In this case, it is a slow evolution. And the logic is not that complicated. It's Becky comes back as big time Bex, has a big ego, feels that the fans are turning on her, not giving her the respect that she deserves. Like it's pretty simple. It's just huge ego and blame the fans. That's it. That is it. Like, it's not complicated. I'm not saying it has to be, but it's just wrestling heel 101. It's just not reinventing the wheel, which in some sense is good. You know, for a lot of times we sit on this podcast and other podcasts complain, hey, WWE's overthinking this, they're overbooking it. So I'm cool with this. I thought it'd be a little more intricate. Maybe I'm just used to WWE overcomplicating things, but this is very straightforward. Some people would say it's simpleton. I don't care. I think I'd rather have simple and easy to follow than having to think too much. So this is fine. This is fine. Do I think it's going to work? The crowd is with her so far. The crowd has decided, yeah, okay, let's see what this heel turn does. I mean, they still cheer for her music because her music is so just pure babyface. It's so just energetic and upbeat. So maybe they'll eventually decide to modify that as well. A lot of times when someone turns heel, that music doesn't follow for a while. I mean, I remember when Bayley turned heel, it took a while for her music to follow. Seth Rollins, same thing, among others. So that's not an immediate thing, but I think eventually her music will also follow suit, and you'll hear a different song that's not so upbeat and, you know, you want to sing along. I think the only heel that really hasn't done that is like Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn has just continuing, and we'll get to his segment too, which I thought was really good. But Sami Zayn, who has one of the more just sing-along songs you'll ever hear, and his fans still sing along, has managed to still get over as a pretty good heel, even though his music is just so enticing and so fun, and you try to hold back to not sing along to, especially if you're in person. All right, let's take a quick break for the sponsors of the show, and then I want to continue to elaborate about Becky, or as she's now referring to herself as Big Time Bex. That's fine. It's better than Two Belts Becky or whatever she came up with. I wasn't a big fan of that. So Big Time Bex makes sense. So we're going to talk about that. Her big mafia red velvet jacket and her sunglasses and everything else that she did and said right after this. So if you're looking for another awesome podcast to listen to, go check out the Dion Gordon podcast. Dion offers his unique insight and analysis on a plethora of subjects: sports, news, politics, entertainment, pop culture, and whatever else is on his mind. It's straight to the point, no BS. He calls it like he sees it. It's the Dion way. Go check him out anywhere you find your podcast, whether that's Apple or Anchor or Spotify. Again, it's the Dion Gordon podcast. Highly recommend. He even covered the AEW All Out pay-per-view for an hour and a half. Did such an excellent job and open talking about the difference of AEW's professional wrestling versus WWE's sports entertainment. It's just such a great listen, guys. Go check out the Dion Gordon podcast right now. Fitzgerald Gold and Silver's Facebook group is the place to be if you're interested in buying or selling gold and silver. This community connects real buyers, sellers, and hobbyists who want a greater understanding of this awesome market. Join Fitzgerald Gold and Silver's Facebook group today. Accessing their gold and silver trading community is as simple as 123 SmackDown. Just type in Fitzgerald Gold and Silver and they will pop right up.
Welcome back to the WWE Podcast. Let's get back to more great wrestling audio.
All right, let's continue our conversation about Becky Lynch here. Of course, this was during the contract signing with herself and Bianca. Bianca came out first. Very good reception for Bianca. Signed the contract right away. And then Becky comes out and it was absurd. She knows it's absurd. It's just trying to convey the message. I have a big ego. I'm wearing sunglasses because my future's so bright. I mean, that kind of thing. And I get it. It's very simplistic, but I'd rather have simplistic, as I said. I don't know about you guys. Some of you may find this very just too basic. I'm fine with it. Would you think about this, guys? Would you rather have this or some convoluted mess? I mean, SummerSlam was a convoluted mess, but the follow-up to her character turning down the heel road has at least been just heel 101. Fine. It's a basic class. So we get Becky Lynch coming out and saying to Sonya Deville and to Adam Pearce, hey, what if I don't sign this? And what if I decided not to? And they didn't answer. They just said, sign it. And then Sonya Deville or Bianca Belair was like, sign it, sign it, sign it, as if repeating yourself over and over is supposed to convince someone to do something. And it did somehow work. I mean, but I would have loved to have had Adam Pearce and or Sonya Deville answer that question, right? No one has ever defied a contract signing to my knowledge. So what happens then? I mean, because we're told that everything becomes official when a contract is signed, even though matches happen on the regular without anything being signed. It just happens impromptu, but including championship matches, by the way. So what would have happened? Is somebody answer that for me? That was a damn good question by Becky. I'm like, yeah, wait a minute. Why are we just supposed to believe you have to? I mean, maybe they could have threatened suspension. I mean, there's things they could have done, but at least explain it. At least explain what the consequences are. And here's something also that is never explained. Here's something that is never explained and people just adhere to and abide by, and there's never an explanation why or what the penalty is for not abiding by it. Ready? Somebody has a manager at ringside, accomplice at ringside, a friend at ringside, whoever they are. And that person is caught helping their friend, right? So say, I'm going to think of something here. Say Logan Paul, or say, no, how about this? How about, say Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn are back together, right? Just in some fantasy scenario. We have Kevin Owens in a match. He's facing Happy Corbin, right? We have Sami Zayn interfere behind the referee's back to help out Kevin Owens. And the referee says, hey, you're out of here. And he throws out Sami Zayn. Well, why does he have to do that? Sami Zayn isn't a part of the match. What, are you going to disqualify Sami Zayn? Or is the actual implied threat, I'm going to disqualify the person you helped if you don't leave? No one's ever explained this. And why do they listen to them on the first shot? No one ever says no. They all just go to the back as if some unseen force is pulling them to the back without their consent. No one ever explains. Does anybody think about this stuff? I mean, what's the consequence for not doing it? They all just abide by it. Why? What's the penalty for not doing it? I don't know. These things I think about. I've thought about that one for a while. I've just never thought about it while I'm on the microphone here. So now I got an audience. And what do you guys think? Let me ask you, instead of just me repeating myself. Bad habit of mine. What do you think? Do you think this is something it's an issue? Do you not think about this? I don't know. Anyway, let's continue on here. Becky Lynch does hesitantly sign this, and she says that I'm going to beat you in 20 seconds. It's just history's going to repeat itself. No physicality. Nobody goes through a table. The crowd was not happy about that. Becky just leaves the ring with her overgrown, massive, just mink coat, or I don't know. I'm not good at materials. Just big red boss coat, and holds up her championship and leaves. So I think it was a fine segment. To me, the segment was really about progressing Becky Lynch's heel character rather than actually get the contract signed, because we all knew the contract was going to get signed. So I think it did work. Honestly, it did. So, okay, let's continue on here. What do we talk about next? Let's get into something really good here. Edge and Seth Rollins. Man, do these two have it or what? We knew that they'd be good together. I don't know if any of us knew they'd be this good together. And luckily for us, it looks like they're setting up for a third. You can't end it like that and not have a third, a rubber match. Presumably at Extreme Rules, or maybe even at the next pay-per-view at, Crown Jewel. Or maybe they even wait till Survivor Series. They could wait a much longer period of time. And I think they will, now that I'm speaking and thinking about it to you guys. I think they'll wait a little longer because Edge only has so many matches on the card, and I think it'd be more fun to have Edge come back when it's not expected and not just every week. And I think that's what keeps Edge feeling special, is that he's not there on a weekly basis. And he just shows up every few months, does a match, does a program, leaves. I like it. So this match, again, just so good. The chemistry that these two have is everything we could have hoped for. Just two absolute professionals doing what they do best inside a squared circle. Add the chemistry, add the similar styles. It's just awesome. And credit to both guys in this matchup. Some very believable near falls, the submissions. I love that that Edge has a very deep move set. That's been one of the unsung attributes, big attributes of Edge, is that his move set is it's not 1-dimensional, 2-dimensional, 3-dimensional. It's like 8-dimensional. This guy pulls move after move. It's not just reliant on the spear or even, a submission maneuver. It's multiple submission maneuvers. It's multiple signature moves, pulling out the pedigree, which was perfectly done. Perfectly done. The glam slam had to be redone, which is fine. I mean, I'm not going to even fault them about that. The glam slam was done nicely. A nice touch there. Just a beautiful match. And I can't wait until these two lock horns again. Now, of course, as we know, we had Seth get the low blow when the referee was turned for just a second, which allowed Seth to gain the advantage. And then we know what happened at the end here, where the super kick ending, it was very dramatic. And you don't often see a finish of a match slow down. Typically, it's quick, boom, boom, boom. Oh my God, the match is over. What just happened? I mean, we get that with roll-ups on a freaking 5 times a night basis on Raw and SmackDown. Raw especially. Raw is the biggest perpetrator of that. But usually finishes happen quick and sudden, and oh my God, and people go, well, it just happened. In this case, I loved how they slowed down the finish. It allowed you to freaking breathe and to realize what's going on. And for Edge and his eyes to tell the story as he always does, and having Seth do super kick after super kick, I think he had delivered about 3 of them. And Edge tried to keep getting up and just kept getting kicked in the head. Seth eventually finally hits the stomp. And that puts away Edge. People are concerned about Edge's health, worried that he could be injured again. They bring out the gurney, the backboard, put Edge on that backboard, and then bring him to the back. He's helped out to the ambulance by EMTs. And why the hell, by the way, a couple of things here. A couple of very odd things. What the F is Adam Pearce doing lifting Edge, helping lift Edge into the ambulance? I don't want Adam Pearce anywhere near me if I'm injured, right? He's a quote-unquote WWE official. I don't want him touching me. Shouldn't the EMTs be the one? What if he lifts me too high, ends up dropping me, whatever? I saw him like, what the hell is Adam Pearce doing, right? I don't know. It's just very bizarre to me. Like, it didn't fit. Adam Pearce should not be doing that. If I were the EMTs, I would have been like, hey, brother, hands off, right? Hands off. We got it from here. So that was one weird thing. I'm not mad about it or anything. Just something I'm like, what's happening? The other thing, and this is a little bit more of a critique. It's not about the match. The match, as I said, was excellent. I'd give it an A. If it was, from an F to an A+, I'd give it an A. It was just really, really good. Like 4.5 out of 5 stars, maybe 4.5. Nonetheless, the one thing I have, and this has been actually a bit of a Achilles heel for me for Seth, when he does something dastardly, when he does something that is inhumane, that is just reprehensible, he shows emotion for it or hesitancy. Why? Seth is a heel. He should have feigned that he had sympathy or empathy or some kind of regret for what he did. He should have feigned it, pretend. And then that kind of stunned shock look turns to a smile and self-satisfaction. Instead, which I kept waiting for it to happen, we get a Seth Rollins that just, he's kind of shocked at what he did. And then says he feels nothing. What? Wait, what? You were talking about for weeks that you wouldn't hesitate to do this. And now I guess the reality of it is setting in with him. I want him to own it and love what he did. He did this with Rey Mysterio. When he gouged out Rey Mysterio's eye in the eye for an eye match, we had Seth end up regretting almost what he did on the spot, and then he ends up like throwing up or something. I'm like, no, dude, own it. You're a heel. Don't show that you have remorse for what you did. That's part of being a heel. So that's the one small critique I'd make about the follow-up to this is Seth backstage. I'm like, I was waiting when he was being interviewed for him to say, I'm not sure what I feel. I'm not sure what I feel, but what I do feel right now is amazing or happy or satisfied or elated or whatever. And he just turns to that evil sniveling smile. Where was that? Why is he not owning this? And maybe he will on SmackDown. I think I said the same thing when he gouged out Rey Mysterio's eye and there was no follow-up. You got to be ruthless as a heel. And this is the time to be ruthless. This is a time to show that you don't care what you did to your opponent, that you put him on the shelf, that you sent him home, that you risked his livelihood, that he can't pick up his own children because of what you did. What the hell? It's so basic. Why are they missing this? But maybe they will on SmackDown. I don't know. I don't have much faith right now in creative, but this one's right there for the taking. So outside of that, awesome match, no issues, and I'm looking forward to whenever the hell they lock up again. If he comes back for Extreme Rules, I'll be shocked. I would think more likely at Crown Jewel or Survivor Series, whatever. It could be as soon as Extreme Rules. It could be, but the WWE website, WWE.com website said that he was serious, quote unquote, seriously injured. So that leads me to believe that there's an injury big enough to just say, hey, he's going to be out for a while. So, all right. Well, let's continue on here. The Demon returns, guys. The Demon returns. We got that quick hint last week. Some of us speculating that was Brock Lesnar. It was not. It was the Demon who confronted Roman Reigns to end SmackDown. And it was kind of a stare off, if you will, of Roman and Finn. The crowd loved it. It's cool to see him back as the Demon. Fine. But I don't, again, I fear for the Demon's credibility after Roman Reigns ends up smashing him, as Roman would put it. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So it's cool to see. Doesn't come out often. It is a very rarely used character. And with the Fiend gone, it is even more special. So, okay. Let's see what else happened on SmackDown. The SmackDown Tag Team Championship match, the Street Profits versus the Usos. This is fine. It's kind of like the Usos and New Day that seem to fight forever. I think we're going to see these two fight forever. It will be just an ongoing, never-ending program with these two. And it's fine because they're really good together. I have no problem with it. We had Angelo Dawkins had a really nice false finish where the Usos hit the Uso splash and Angelo Dawkins actually kicked out, which is, I did not expect that. We had the From the Heavens, and after we had From the Heavens, of course, Roman Reigns, who is ringside, just comes in and just tosses around the Street Profits, causing a disqualification. Thereby, the Usos retain their SmackDown Tag Team Championships, and Roman Reigns can claim that he saved everybody this week, and I'm sure he will next week. It's a perfect setup. He saved Paul Heyman from an F5. He saved the Usos from losing their Tag Team Championships, so he can claim that he is the savior of the Bloodline. Really good name. God, I love the Bloodline name. It's so good. I don't know why it took so long for them to assign it. You're not going to come up with a better name than that. Fits perfectly. So, I will say that the women's division is strikingly thin on SmackDown. I know we talked about Bianca and Becky. Outside of Bianca and Becky, like, who's there? You know, it's off a cliff. It's off a cliff from there. So, yeah, boy, oh boy, the SmackDown women need help. I'm not, again, this isn't a knock on SmackDown itself, but boy, they need some stars. They need some time. They need to dedicate a little more time. I will say it is a bit of a creative problem. They need to dedicate a little more time to having the women who are not getting an opportunity show their face. So that's the one thing I'll say. Oh, the 10-man tag team match. We got Sami Zayn introducing special guest Atlanta Hawks star Trae Young to a chorus of boos from the New York Knicks fans inside Madison Square Garden. Sami Zayn, I mean, he's just a genius on the mic, and having Trae Young come out again. I'm not a big follower of the NBA, but I get it when that would be like this. Those of you that are baseball fans, again, depends who's a baseball fan out there, who's not. But back in the mid-2000s, if you had brought David Ortiz into Madison Square Garden, I mean, that would have been like nuclear heat. In the mid-2000s, the Yankees and Red Sox were interlocked in just pure warfare. So that would be, again, that'd be like bringing Derek Jeter into Fenway Park. Okay, I don't know what else analogy to give you, but I get it. I understand the analogy of it. And you know what? Trae Young got exactly what reaction they were probably hoping for, and they crapped all over him as they should have. It was a very cool moment. I was going to do an over-under of how many times they mention Madison Square Garden on the show, whether it's in the announcers saying it or whether it's in promos. Anybody have the count of that? Let me know. I'd love to know. I'm sure it's like, 15 times, 20 times. They just love to pound in. Anytime they can say where they are, they let you know they're proud of where they are. You'll know very quickly if they're proud of where they are in how many times they mention where they are. If they're in Kansas City, Missouri, you ain't going to hear too many times, yeah, we're in Kansas City, Missouri, outside of maybe like, the intro graphic, that little label they put on the top of the screen. Maybe sometimes they don't even tell you where they are. There have been times where, especially Raw, has not told you where they are because they're just ashamed of where they are. So they don't tell you. If it's not a big market, they sometimes kind of shield where they are. I don't know. So it's kind of just lowbrow of them. But anyway, I get why they do it. It makes them feel like they're more big time than they are. Their perception to their stockholders and their sponsors. Look at, oh my God, WWE's in Madison Square Garden, so. All right. So this match, this 10-man tag team match, I don't know if Teddy Long had a hand in this or not. Maybe he wrote an email to WWE and they asked, maybe they asked him and said, hey, Teddy, we don't know. We got a slot to fill on SmackDown. We're not sure what to do. We need your expertise. And good old Teddy Long just says, hey, I got a 10-man tag team match in mind for you. This is Teddy Long written all over it. Anyway, so the match was, who was it? Sami Zayn teaming with Apollo Crews, Otis, and Dolph Ziggler, and Robert Roode, who battled Rey Mysterio, Dominic, Big E, Rick Boogs, and King Nakamura. So here is what the description of the match was from Bleacher Report this time. And I'm quoting, an energetic tag team match, culminated with Young interfering on behalf of the heels, only to be ejected by the official. This is the point I made earlier. If he just stands there and he's like, no, I'm going to stay right here. What's the consequence? Did they bring out security? I mean, no one's ever done it. Everyone just abides. So, anyway, the distraction allowed the Mysterios to deliver stereo 619s and Big E to finish Zayn with the big ending. After the match, Big E told Kayla Braxton The New York fans may see him out there again later tonight, maybe Monday Night Raw. Whatever the case, if you got what I need, you're going to feel my power. Okay. At least there's one positive thing I'll say about this. He changed the to my. So he still took a New Day line that is way beyond its shelf life anyway, but at least he altered it to make it a little more customized to himself. You're going to feel my power. That makes more sense. He's a very powerful guy, so it's not really hyperbole. It's real. Like, I mean, you will feel my power. So I get it. Fine. You want to make that your tagline now? Have more power to you. But here's the thing, too. Apparently, you can just switch brands. That briefcase allows you to switch brands. I know they did mention it at Money in the Bank, but I don't know. I have issues with it. Anyway, I'm probably in the minority there. So he could show up on Monday night and face Bobby Lashley. I doubt it. I think we've got a little more time before Big E cashes in, personally. It feels like the opponents for both champions are set up right now. We do have Randy Orton and Bobby Lashley. And we have Roman Reigns and Finn Balor and then Brock Lesnar and then potentially The Rock. I mean, we've got a whole litany for Roman Reigns. Although Bobby Lashley is facing Randy Orton this Monday night for the Raw or the WWE Championship. They announced that on SmackDown. And when they did that, I'm like, wait a minute. What? Why is this on Raw? Again, my argument that there are way too many championship matches and big championship matches on Raw and SmackDown is I guess they don't care anymore. They are beyond it. For some reason, they feel like it makes a bigger show. And I'm done talking about it. I think it's a terrible, terrible strategy, at least in the long term, even short term, because people are burned out of championship matches. At this point, when you have a match that's not a championship match, it feels like it should be, right? And I don't want to feel that way. It feels like there are more championship matches than non-title matches. It's so backwards, and it deflates and devalues those championships, all championships, so much. And it makes pay-per-views feel just less important and everything else. So if that match is happening on Raw, Randy Orton and Bobby Lashley for the WWE Championship, that would tell me that perhaps Big E versus Bobby Lashley does take place at the Extreme Rules. Because who else is Bobby going to face? Goldberg is out of the picture because he's going to be ready for Bobby Lashley at the Crown Jewel event. And he did tell Bobby Lashley he's not coming for the championship. He's coming for his soul, whatever the hell that means. So Bobby doesn't need the championship to face Goldberg. So we could have a new WWE champion in Big E at Extreme Rules. That to me is terrible. Why is it terrible? Not because I'm not a Big E fan, but because you're going to end a really good run with Bobby Lashley for what? A New Day spinoff that has yet to have his own identity? I've been complaining about this for months. And furthermore, it puts him on the same brand as the New Day. God help us all. So, anyway, that's my spiel on that. The match was, they're obviously trying to make Big E look as strong as possible, and he keeps cackling in front of Paul Heyman, which is just obnoxious and not becoming, and all of the bad things that it could be. It is. All right. Well, let's again. I touched a little bit on Monday Night Raw. We had an RKO from Randy Orton on Bobby Lashley again. We had a tag team title match with MVP and Bobby Lashley that ended up with the tag team champions retaining Randy Orton and Riddle. We had Nikki ASH and Rhea Ripley team up, which I mentioned on the Raw review. Was a very nice and easy to follow tag team, I think. And I said this on my Raw review, but just to reiterate, I think those two, Rhea and Nikki, have a women's tag title run in their very near future, probably as soon as the pay-per-view event Extreme Rules in a couple of weeks. Karrion Kross has really been neutered since coming up. I know his attire has some people just going, what the hell is going on? And it is very disheartening and makes people from NXT say, hey, I want no part in coming to the main roster. A place that they should aspire to be and that they're actually being developed to go to. Those talent want nothing to do with the main roster. I wouldn't. And I'm not speaking for everybody on NXT. But how could you not think that in the back of your mind? Like, okay, we're being groomed for the main roster, and yet I don't want to go there. It's telling because of how many times they take something and they try to fix something that's not broke. Karrion Kross was not broke. And they just made him somebody that's almost irrelevant. I know he got a victory over John Morrison. So what? So don't worry, though. Don't worry. This coming Tuesday, we have NXT 2.0. And I don't know what that's going to mean. I'm very interested to see how Vince McMahon and Bruce Pritchard make it their own. I don't know what that means. I would assume it's very much like Raw and SmackDown, that they want every one of their brands to feel the same in terms of TV production. If that's the case, that's a massive mistake, because what makes NXT so popular among some of the fans is that it doesn't feel like Raw and SmackDown, that it feels like a counterculture within the same organization, that it's back to basics, back to pro wrestling, not the sports entertainment-y stuff. And Vince is sitting there going, oh, wait a minute, we have a third brand? He probably just discovered there's NXT, and he's like, wait a minute, we can't have this brand doing wrestling. We're an entertainment company. Let me fix that. I think he just discovered it, probably. He probably just realized that they have an NXT brand. And he's feeling that it needs to be fixed. So he's like, Bruce, come on, pal. Let's go fix this brand. We'll make it right. In reality, I think he saw the tanking ratings and that they were quote unquote beat out by AEW for Wednesday nights. And he's saying, hey, I know how to fix this. Vince, no, you don't. No, you don't. Why don't you worry about Raw? That is a sinking ship right now. Go worry about Monday Night Raw. Then come back to NXT if you feel the need to somehow and for some godforsaken reason touch the one place that we thought Vince would not even touch or care about, because he didn't seem to care about it, and just let Triple H do his own damn thing. I'm very, very interested to see what this NXT 2.0 is. Sometimes an update is not an upgrade. Let me say that again. Sometimes an update is not an upgrade. A lot of times we get software updates on our phones and our computers to the quote-unquote latest version, and it doesn't upgrade our experience. Same thing goes here. This may not be an upgrade, just an update. Doesn't mean it's better. I could be wrong, and I hope I am, because I want all wrestling companies and brands to succeed. But I have my doubts with a 70-some-year-old Vince McMahon that sometimes doesn't know what day it is or where he's at. And he rewrites scripts and does things for seemingly no reason. And, has the Joe Biden syndrome. Doesn't know where he's at, what he's doing or why. I'm over-exaggerating, of course, for Vince anyway. Okay. Let's see what else I can comment on. Drew McIntyre and Sheamus, the match. I mentioned this on Monday Night Raw review. It was really, really hard hitting. I enjoyed it. It's what you thought it would be with these two. The Drew McIntyre direction is very interesting, though. We have Sheamus in a direction going in a program with Damian Priest for the United States Championship at Extreme Rules. But where the hell does this leave Drew? He's wide open right now. And for the first time, he's wide open in a long time. He's like a free agent. Where is he going? What's he going to do? I don't know. And with so close to a pay-per-view, there's not a lot of time to build much. So perhaps he shows up at a pay-per-view, interferes, comes out after, or he's used on the Monday Night Raw after getting into a longer program that leads to Crown Jewel. I don't know. But this is interesting that Drew is just kind of floating out there. I'm not complaining about it. I think it's a good thing. I believe, mentioned, I want Drew to just go away for like a month, 2 months. It would do his career and us, the fans, a service by giving us time to just breathe from Drew. To just take time, step back, and let the heart grow fonder as we don't have him on Raw. That's my thought. But I don't think they'll do that because they feel they need all hands on deck. The ratings are tanking. We need help. I think it's a mistake. So, that's my week in review. Omos taking out Bobby Lashley was a hell of a moment. I will say that was one of the highlights of the show, was the stare down between these two. I really enjoyed that. I think that Omos has some growing to do. I don't mean physically. We all know that. I mean in the ring, psychology, moveset, timing, that kind of stuff. But there is something there for Omos. And I'm ready when WWE is ready to unleash him in a singles role. And I don't think this is the last time we've seen Omos and Bobby Lashley in a ring together. But it was a great moment. It's one of those moments that you put on paper and they hope it translates, and oftentimes it doesn't translate to the moment you want, because moments are hard to just put on paper and execute to the way that you imagined it when you wrote it on paper or typed it up, whatever the case may be. This one did work, though. This one is one of the few that translated nicely, and the crowd loved it. I thought it came across on TV very well. You can't tell me, as a wrestling fan, you would not want to see Omos versus Bobby Lashley right now. I'm not saying for the championship, just in an exhibition. Even an exhibition, I think, would draw ratings. It's a hell of a visual. So, all right. Well, that concludes my week in review. I hope everybody enjoyed themselves. As always, you can follow us on Twitter at wrestling_audio. Instagram at WWE_podcast, or on TikTok at the WWE podcast, where I just put up a video on TikTok last night talking about Mick Foley and his comments about WWE, he's saying they have a problem. I put that video up with some of my comments, and you can also go ad-free, as I said, and it's a great time to go ad-free because it gets you into our ad-free library, all of our shows, no commercials, and it also allows you to get into our Discord server. Little chat room, kind of VIP area for any time there's pay-per-views or big-time events, and it's open anytime. It's not just open during pay-per-views. If you're a patron, you can use that to talk to the other patrons on the show. Really, really cool space to be in. So that concludes the weekend review. I know I'm doing this a day early tonight, but I wanted to get this out. Tomorrow's schedule for me is a little bit iffy, so I wanted to make sure that I had time to do it, and here we are. So thank you to everybody listening. Please give us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts. It is a great way to help support the show. And as always, I'll talk to you next time. So if you're looking for another awesome podcast to listen to, go check out the Dion Gordon podcast. Dion offers his unique insight and analysis on a plethora of subjects: sports, news, politics, entertainment, pop culture, and whatever else is on his mind. It's straight to the point, no BS. He calls it like he sees it. It's the Dion way. Go check him out anywhere you find your podcast, whether that's Apple or Anchor or Spotify. Again, it's the Dion Gordon podcast. Highly recommend. He even covered the AEW All Out pay-per-view for an hour and a half. Did such an excellent job and open talking about the difference of AEW's professional wrestling versus WWE's sports entertainment. It's just such a great listen, guys. Go check out the Dion Gordon podcast right now. Fitzgerald Gold and Silver's Facebook group is the place to be if you're interested in buying or selling gold and silver. This community connects real buyers, sellers, and hobbyists who want a greater understanding of this awesome market. Join Fitzgerald Gold and Silver's Facebook group today. Accessing their gold and silver trading community is as simple as 123 SmackDown. Just type in Fitzgerald Gold and Silver and they will pop right up.